Welcome to the Barber Show. It's always my pleasure to host you every Sunday or every other day that you get to watch this show on YouTube. Yes, we are on Isibo TV every Sunday from 6 to 7. We have changed hours, but we're also on YouTube, The Barber Show. You can always go back there, subscribe, and yes, if you're following this episode and you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and like other videos, check other videos. We have a lot of content that is really inspirational. Every week we come to your screens with content that is educational, that is inspirational, that is motivational. And we hope to change lives. This is a show that comes to inspire us to become better, to do better in life, using experiences of different people, of walks of life, of different walks of life. And we hope to learn a thing or two with each episode. And for this particular episode, I came across a book that really touched me from the context of what I've been thinking about a lot recently, which is the lives and livelihoods of people living with disabilities. We live with them in our society, we have them in our families, but who are these people? How do they live? Do we stop to think about them? Do we stop to try to understand how they navigate through their challenges that come with the challenges of disabilities they have? And I came across a book called Necklaces for the Headless. It's a children's book, but it also speaks to adults if you pay close attention to what is shared in that story. And I thought I should invite the author to the Barber Show to share with us where the idea came from. And it's interesting. Necklaces for the Headless, authored by Gabriella, Emily, Africa. Now, you will excuse me, I will read because she has done a lot. She is the author of Necklaces for the Headless, and this book, mind you, sits in the US Library of Congress. And it has been featured in the largest book festival in the world, which is the LA Book Festival. She's received the highest best critics from book critics, book reviewers, and she is currently the head of partnership and international affairs at the University of Kigali. She's a certified NLP counselor. She is the president of the board Dare to Dream, the Impossible Fund Initiative. She's the founder of Blue Dragonfly Center, digital mental health platform. My friend, and I'm excited to welcome her to this show because I think she has something she will share with us that will change the way we see the change the way we view people living with disabilities. Welcome, Gabriella.
Thank you so much, Barbara, for being here. It's an honor.
Yes, I'm so excited because when I had this conversation with you, I just knew you had to come to this show to share with our audiences. Our audiences following us here in Rwanda and in the diaspora, I knew you have so much to share.
Thank
now,
you.
straight to the point. I have noticed that every time someone says people living with disabilities, every time someone says that and they are around you, you change.
Yeah.
And there is a whole reason why you change. Yeah. Why does the definition people living with disabilities not sit well with you?
Yeah. Thank you so much for asking that question, Barbara. Let's just take a look at where we live now. So when the world is our home and our canvas as a human species, it becomes a very harsh world to imagine having my own child being born with a genetic condition, let's say Treacher-Collins syndrome, and as soon as he or she, as my own child, enter the world, he or she is automatically labeled with disability.
Yes.
So let us take the world as our home. That newborn is automatically incapacitated. To say that someone is disabled, it means that that person, we have withdrawn the ability from that person to do anything. And the child is just born. And so when we look at it that way, the world becomes a very harsh world for someone that has just discovered their new home. And so if we go further than just giving birth to your own child and facing that issue, we look at the word disability in itself. Again, to be disabled means that you are incapable of performing any task. Now, someone without an arm or a leg can very well talk and think. And so therefore, I believe that the word disability in itself is a wrong word to attribute to someone with a special need. Now let's go slightly further than that. Don't we all have a special need?
Yes, we do.
We all have special needs.
But we are not all called people with special needs.
Exactly. Although we should be always called people with special needs, whether they are internal needs, such as mental needs that we have, affectionate needs that we all have, or needs for if someone that is born without a leg may need a special attention, but that doesn't make them disabled. So unless you are in a coma and you are technically unable to perform any humanly possible task, you're determined, in my perception. Now, when you look at it also in a counselor perspective or medical perspective, there's something called the neurolinguistic programming. This programs the human behavior. That is to say that as soon as you come into the world and I call you, you're disabled. Barbara, God be willing, it's very good that never happened to you. But it automatically programs you to be disabled. So neurons mean the brains, and linguistic is the language. So the words that we use create a certain behavior. And so by using disability to someone, we are already killing them of any capacity that they can have.
Yes, and you call them people of determination. Yes. Why?
Because it takes determination to, despite the fact that you have to face a world that is very harsh against you, you choose to continue living without limits.
Wow, that's interesting. I think, come to think of it from that perspective, when we think of disabilities, we all have disabilities. We all have spaces where we just can't and we need extra help, extra assistance, but we are not labeled that.
Yeah, we all have special needs, absolutely. But none of us are truly disabled. How
did you develop the passion or the compassion for people of determination? Where did that come from?
As a Christian, it is very natural for me to say that it's Holy Spirit and spiritually sent. So that's a calling that has been guided from the kingdom of God. Now, because to assume that everybody is a Christian will be unfair, I would say that without using my faith to express that, I would say it comes from the heart. So having been exposed at a very young age to environments with high levels of poverty and suffering, my heart developed a great deal of compassion. My empathy and compassion can either be biologically or genetically preconditioned, but I would not say that it was manufactured. So to articulate intelligently where does this compassion comes from? It's from the heart. It's from exposure to suffering. It's spiritually. It's a calling for me.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I read your book, Necklaces for the Headless. It's interesting. It's a children's book, but it's also a book that an adult can read and think about their own life, because we all have disabilities, but we shouldn't be limited by them. Where did you get the idea to write Necklaces for the Headless? How did that come about?
Okay, to write the book, the story originated from my own suffering. Let's put it that way. From my own suffering and my inability to understand or to make sense of a certain situation, let's put it that way. And that inability to also reach out receive that necessary help, right? During that specific period of time, I was also teaching creative ways of writing. So it was a combination between something personal and also my love for humanity, and also trying to teach individuals on how to think outside the box. It's a combination of many things. But when you ask an author, how does an imaginary thought comes out of, it's very difficult to pinpoint the source. It's very internal. It just erupts.
Especially with that kind of content that you wrote for the book.
Yeah.
So it's a children's book, but also adults can read it.
Absolutely.
Why children's book? Were you trying to help children understand from an early age how to live with people of determination? What's the whole idea for the book, as strongly as it is written, to be a children's book?
Thank you for this question. I believe that, yes, children are the future, but also that if we want to impact a community or a society, that it starts from the ground up. So if we want to impact families, if we want to impact a community, we start by families. It becomes slightly difficult to change the mindset of adults, because we're already set in the box, and the margin of adults that have the ability to shift their realities is very minimal. But children, however, the cup of tea is still empty, right? So we can still pour kindness, pour compassion and new ideas. So that is why the story is targeted to children. But also, we have to think about it. Who reads the book to the children? The parents.
Yes.
We need an adult to read. So through reading the story to a child, an adult himself gets to read the story. And by that interaction, what happens is that you are recreating a mindset and targeting the boat at the same time. Yeah.
In the book, Necklaces for the Headless, it's a story about Rosine Uwase.
Yes.
She's born without a head,
yes,
but she's beautiful.
Yes.
It talks about, indirectly, it talks about our perception of beauty.
Very good.
In this society, and how someone might feel not beautiful when, in actual sense, they're beautiful in their own way. It all depends on the perception, on the people around you, on the love you receive from family, which comes back to people of determination. Some of them in African contexts or African cultures, they are born in families, and families don't embrace them. Families don't treat them like the other children, and that in itself is very incapacitating. What can you say to that?
Well, it's for developing countries, it's a lack of education.
Yes.
That's unfortunate. With that comes a lack of exposure. So by writing the book and targeting it to Black community, as you have seen, or an African community, we are starting, I'm trying to start that kind of storytelling in the African communities already at a very young age, to expose our family that don't have the opportunity to travel and to see how people of determinations are treated in different worlds, right? So that was one. So that's how we're targeting it. Now, in terms of beauty, it's very interesting what we have seen in schools, because we read that story to primary school students, and here in Rwanda. So one exercise that we do, we ask the student if she has no neck at the beginning of the story, is Rosine Uwase beautiful? Huh? Everybody says no.
They don't see her face.
They don't see she's pretty. They are afraid of her. We ask them, would you be her friend? Everybody says no, right? As we read the story to them, their entire experience is different. When we ask them in the middle of the book, is she pretty? Everybody, yes, she's so beautiful. At the end of the story, all of them find Rosine Uwase so beautiful. even one child when they mentioned that I want to marry Rosie Nwasi,
Oh,
they
wow.
write me letters. Oh yes, we have letters from them. And so we ask them, what makes a person beautiful? Right? And then they end up realizing that it is their heart. And because especially women, we're judged by the way that we look. So that's how at the end of the book we say, how will she ever find a husband if she doesn't have a face? So the book also targets that discussion about what it is to be a woman and what it is to be a woman without a face. How do you define our beauty?
Yes, I like the emphasis of the book on virtues.
Yes.
On virtue,
Yeah.
on values,
Yes.
on inner beauty.
Yes,
and
resilience,
and
character,
resilience,
yes.
and kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
We'll take a break and then we'll come back to discuss what more you have in mind for people of determination. You are following the Barbara Show. We are with Gabriella Emily Africa. She's the author of Necklaces for the Headless. It's a book, but she has a whole story around people of determination. Please stay tuned. We'll advertise and then come back shortly. Thank you. Welcome back to the Barbara Show. This is our English episode where we're talking about people of determination. You could ask yourself, who are people of determination? This is a term coined by Gabriella Emily Africa. She says people living with disabilities or people with special needs is basically the whole human race. We are incapacitated in one way or another, but there is a specific group of people that we like to call people with special needs, but actually they are people of determination because they are determined to make it in life, they survive, they make it. So changing the way we call them could actually change a lot on their livelihood. Gabriella is also the author of Necklaces for the Headless, which is an interesting story, and we were just talking about that. But right away, we will go into where you can find the book and read the book for your children, but also reflect on what that means, what disabilities mean, or what we think our lives should look like if we are born with special needs. Though I think we're all born with special needs. So, Gabriella, where can we find this book? Parents listening to this, where can they find this book?
You can find, if I can add just one thing, is that we must be really aware of the word disability, Barbara, and our activism is to actually eradicate the world on the international, the world community, because it should solidly be associated to medical condition in which you really cannot operate mentally and physically. So technically, this is why we are truly really advocating that this word, pioneering here in Rwanda, goes away. Because to be disabled does not mean to lose one limb. That doesn't make you disabled. The only way that the human species should be labeled disabled, even in a medical terminology, is if that person is unable to think and to do any physical operative, then you become disabled. So this is what we believe in, and this is what we are.
You are working towards totally eradicating the word people with disabilities.
You have it.
Oh,
you got
wow.
it. Yeah. So Dubai has introduced as well the people of inspiration, they have tried to eradicate that. In Dubai. And you would see that this is slowly building up. Yeah, so it's a concept that we're looking into.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
So where can they find the book? So
the book, currently, you can purchase it online. You can get it, you can borrow it at the Kigali Public Library, with who we have a partnership now, where we work with special need individuals and people of determination for literacy projects. So they have copies there for borrowing. Purchasing it directly, it will have to be, go to my website, necklace.
We'll share the website.
You can see it also Walmart, Barnes & Nobles, eBays. There's over 1,000 online database and bookstores where you can purchase it. Here in Rwanda, we're still working on making it accessible and translated in Kinyarwanda for the bookstore. Yes, we're working on the translations actually, and that should be fully translated by mid-September.
All right.
And so once that is done, then we'll make it accessible to the bookstore that we have over here.
You have quite a lot of work you do with people of determination. You recently started the fund. The Dare to Dream the Impossible Fund initiative. What is that all about?
So when the concept of once the book was birthed, the next natural thing was where do we use the funds from the book?
Okay.
And so the natural progression was to start an organization that would start at home in Rwanda to support people of determination, ideally to change that terminology. And so what better way than to start an organization that does that, right, an association. So that's how it originated. Through the seed funding of the book, we decided that we'll start creating system for Rwanda. And then eventually the natural progression was like, I mean, why just Rwanda? Let's target the whole Africa. And so that's what we've been engaged in. And when we look at it, after what our country has come from and where we are today, there's no better country than here to do what we want to do and what we're doing. So so I think I answered your question.
Yes, you
did.
Did
I?
How would you...
Oh, what are we doing?
Yeah, what are you doing now, and how many people of determination are you working with?
Okay, so we are working with over 100, about 200 right now.
Okay.
And so we have projects such as computer skills for visual impairments, okay, for those with the visual needs, right? And so we're learning how to use a computer. We are also, I'm not wearing the shoes today, but we have the business incubation, so for entrepreneurship, where we have a guy called Ashim. He makes amazing shoes, a couple pairs that I have and that I wear regularly. I was wearing them this morning actually. And so what we're doing is that he's training other special needs in that domain. We are sponsoring him to open a shop. He has a shop. And so what we want to do is to replicate that. So to become entrepreneurs. So he has a 3 months incubation program. He's training other people that work for him.
Who are still people of determination?
Yes. Okay. We're focusing 100% on only people of determination.
Okay.
So that's from him. There's a guy that everybody knows here. His name is Mishak. He's a basketball player. He's on the team as well.
Yes.
And so the program with Mishak, he already owns a barbershop. And so he's part of also then the entrepreneur incubation program. So what we want him to do is what we're supporting is to open another barbershop where there will be only people with determination.
Who work in the barbershop.
Exactly, you got it.
Wow.
So we're working on that. So that's part of the incubation program. Now in the incubation program, we're also bringing in tricoterie, so clothing, right? And so that's an idea. We haven't yet gone into that, but that's a program. So in the incubation program. Outside of the incubation program, then we have sports. We have just signed the national coach of Rwanda, Irwa Jean-Paul, who is now working for the people of determination, praise the Lord. And so we are building an elite wheelchair basketball team, and we would like, that God is good, And so, and the Dare to Dream Basketball League of Rwanda. And so, God be willing, if we're able to put in place the games by October, then we can start on the African level the first wheelchair games, because there hasn't been any yet. So those are some of the programs, besides the library projects that we also have.
Wow, that's amazing. Gabriella, you've mentioned a lot of sports. Do you engage other people of determination who are involved in other creative arts, music and others? Painting?
Do you know that, I was given 4 acres of land in Nyarugenge. Maybe you don't. So ideally we want to build a center, and in that center, we wanted to do music like that guy Bosco. Painting, we're going to. Music, not yet, although that is something that I want to do. Again, I haven't found the right individuals, but we have a 5-year plan. And within the 5-year plan, there are sport, there's music, because we understand that a person with special need, notably in the visual visual function, has a hyphen hearing ability. So they are actually, they are actually geniuses in terms of the touch, the hearing, sensitivity in comparison to you and I. And so that makes them more, absolutely, it's quite incredible. It's like your coefficient in terms of, your hearing ability or your intelligence for that is greater than mine.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. Yes, because once one sense is shut, the other ones are hyphen. So music is something we want to get into. We haven't yet gotten the chance to explore the artist community here in Rwanda and how we can tap into that. As soon as we're able to do that, this is something that we'll be engaging in. So we welcome any artist that will find interest in what we're doing.
Amazing. What would you tell people of determination as we close this show?
Life is challenging. Thank you for your inspiration.
Wow. And what would you tell people living with people of determination?
If you can start by eradicating the word D, etc., the one that she used at the beginning of this show, if you can begin with the exercise and the homework at home by just eradicating that word out of your mouth for the community, or just eradicating the word, then we can begin to build a world that is more compassionate for our children and for Africa. Because at the end of the day, you don't know if you might need determinations tomorrow. If a car hits you, then what happens? We don't know what tomorrow is made of. So let us try to build a world that is kinder.
Wow. We could all be people of determination tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle, for your time. Wow. People of determination. Let's be kind towards them. We could be one of them tomorrow. And we thank people of determination for inspiring us, for surviving against all odds, for adding life and color to our lives. Thank you so much for following The Barbara Show. See you on Sunday. And like I always say it, may God bless you. Thank you.
Amen. This is beautiful.
Wakoze gukurikira ikiganiro The Barbara Show. Nimba ukibonye kuri YouTube The Barbara Show, kora subscribe, ujye ukomeza kubona amakuru n'ibindi biganiro byinshi bikomeza kuza. Nimba udukurikira kuri Facebook, nimba udukurikira kuri Instagram, komeza udukurikire, turakwishimiye cyane. No kuri Twitter muzajya mukomeza kubona amakuru, ndetse ntimukasibe kureba iki kiganiro ku Isibo TV. Turabashimiye rero ku mwanya wanyu mwaduhaye. Imana ibahumugishe.